Greetings, apocalyptoids, fellow humans, fellow earthlings alive right now in this moment, on this incredible ride and this incredible experience, whether you're going through incredible pain, emptiness, loneliness, or if you are living in harmony, if you're doing well in life, wherever you are, I hope that you are all hanging in there and absorbing as much as possible from this experience we're having. If you're around right now, if you're watching this, if you are alive, that means you are one of the strongest humans ever, because over hundreds of thousands of years, we're the ones that have survived evolution. We're the ones here right now that have been through all of it, and what doesn't break us makes us stronger. It is absolutely 100% true. So if you're going through something very hard, if you've been through a lot of hardships, then take it easy on yourself. Give yourself a pat on the back. Be kind, be loving to yourself. Keep in check your expectations of yourself. It's good to have high expectations. It's good to want more. If you're going through a very difficult, brutal breakup, then keep that in mind as well, that be realistic. Breakups are really hard, especially getting over your first love. That was it, Sheryl Crow, I think, who sang, "The first cut is the deepest," right? The first cut is the deepest. Why is that? Why is our first love, our first deep connection, our first intimate relationship the hardest to get through and to let go of? Well, we're going to talk about that. By far, out of everything that I do, all the counseling sessions that I have had, this is the topic that comes up the most. The sessions that I work on the most are breakups, divorces. I just completed a 2-year divorce with one of my clients. Brutal, nasty, horrible divorce. Fortunately, she has come out of it doing really well, came out on top. And a lot of the things that I'll talk about in this video, that I have talked about in all my videos, almost all my videos, also the things that she implemented and she focused on. Of course, to cut a long story short, it's going to be no contact, but it's not just no contact, as some of you already know what no contact truly means is getting on with your life, self-love, focusing on yourself, falling in love with the most important person on this earth, which is you first. Fill your cup first, and then it will overflow and shower on everybody else. Be a river for your people. So, why is the first cut the deepest? Well, breakups in general are really, really difficult, and a lot of people underestimate how difficult they are and apply unrealistic expectations on themselves of how quickly they should be moving on. There's a rule out there that someone said, which I have seen a lot of truth to in the counseling sessions I have with people from all around the world, which is that it tends to take about half the time of the length of your the length your relationship was to get over that relationship. And it seems to be pretty true. Now, of course, that will depend on what you're going to be doing after you break up. Are you going to be contacting this person? Are you going to be snooping on their social media? Are you going to be looking at their pictures? Are you going to be, thinking about them constantly, which that's natural and it's going to happen and there's nothing wrong with that. But it also, the duration, how long it lasts, getting through it is going to be also based on what positive steps are you doing? What are you doing to move forward? So, why is the first cut the deepest? Why is getting over our first love so hard, so difficult? Well, because it's a new experience. There's two new experiences that are going on. The first is the extreme high that you have experienced being with this person. And it could happen in a matter of days. I've seen it happen in a week. I've experienced it in a very short period of time, falling in love with someone. And it can happen also over a period of months. I tend to share that the 3 month mark seems to be a very important time frame for human beings. Being with someone for 3 months. If you ever have like any doubts or red flags or concerns about a relationship and you're approaching that 3 month mark, I would highly recommend and consider that you move on from that, because after the 3 month mark, you're likely to start bonding with this person, and then you're going to be in a much more difficult, painful place. So I would say that 3 months should be more than enough time for you to realize whether or not this is someone that you are comfortable to share more time with. You could even say that a month is enough, but it depends on how you're interacting. Are you guys living together? Is it a long distance thing? Are you texting all day? So there's a lot of factors involved. But that extreme high that you experience when you meet your first love, the love of your life, the first uh, deep connection that you have, our bodies are crazy, crazy, incredible, crazy complex. And we're almost our own personal pharmacists. The chemicals that are being released in our bodies all the time, at all times, whether we are angry, happy, euphoric, horny, sad, depressed, lonely. There's so many different chemicals that flood our bodies, so many different hormones. It's just incredible how powerful they are, and the way that they alter our mindset, our experience. So just like any drug that you might take, whether it is weed or alcohol or anything, painkillers. Now, imagine that every moment in your life is going to be a complete unique mix, a complete unique cocktail of different feelings and chemicals and hormones that run through your body. And it's interesting how we can feel that heartache right here, that pain, or also that the opposite. When we are in love, we can feel this comfort, this confidence, this feeling of being at ease. So, these feelings are, they're natural, they're our body's way of guiding us towards something. Our bodies want us to reproduce, want us to find a mate, want us to fall in love and have children so that we survive and that we will continue. And in the same way, when we go through a breakup, the absence of those chemicals, of those incredible feelings that we feel, that absence is kind of like someone taking our legs out from under us. We go from an incredible cocktail of emotions and hormones and chemicals to nothing. And that absence is very much like if you have been addicted to a drug, like let's say heroin or any drug that's addictive, cigarettes, alcohol, sugar, people, anything. We can get addicted to pretty much anything. When we lose those things, we go back to our baseline. And that baseline is can be extremely difficult, especially your first time. So when we talk about, why is it so hard to get over your first love? It's because of those two things. It's because you're experiencing, first of all, two new things, that extreme high that you've never experienced before, followed by the absence of it. And unfortunately, or you could argue fortunately, because it is something that makes us stronger, that helps us to grow, that makes us more wise and better, and it helps us evolve, and that's what we're here for. But unfortunately, it's very painful and it's very difficult when we go from an extreme high, especially for a sustained period of time, to an extreme low. Now, the great news is that our bodies are amazing, and just as it takes time to adapt up here, all it takes is time to adapt down here as well. Yes, it's going to be hard because once we have experienced those highs, they have now been experienced. And as Master Yoda in Star Wars says, you must unlearn what you have learned sometimes. So this is why a lot of spiritual people, a lot of Buddhism, a lot of all faiths, Christianity, Islam, people, the practitioners who truly practice the core of any faith is good. The core message of most faiths are good, even atheism, I shouldn't even say even atheism, because actually most of the kindest, most intelligent, warmest, loving, compassionate people I have ever met in my life were atheists. So the core of a lot of these faiths drives them to be more in the middle path, taking that middle path. What that means is doing things in moderation and in balance. So rather than getting too extremely lost and excited into a person, which is again why you're experiencing such pain, because you've lost yourself in another person. It's the story of Gollum and the ring from Lord of the Rings, where Gollum just is all day long worshipping, and the word escapes me, but just, it's not fantasizing, but just adoring this thing, this object, right? Something that is not within. And it's the opposite of self-love. So self-love, a lot of people think, is a selfish thing. And self-love does come across as like a new age kind of hippie-ish, thing. You don't have to call it self-love. There are a lot of people that practice this without, referring to it as self-love or anything like that. You can see some of the greatest, most successful athletes, artists, musicians. They are focused on their goals. They are focused on within. They're focusing on creating and building this power inside them, filling your cup, or making sure that your river flows strong. And then once it's powerful, then it comes out. Fighters like Tyson, Muhammad Ali, they come into their fights, or whoever, Anderson Silva, whoever fighter, great, powerful fighters come into their fights with a lot of power, a lot of force. And it's not about training. Training is important. I've been doing MMA for 10 years now, competing, fighting, training so hard. Yeah, of course training is hard, but more importantly than training is that power, that force that you cultivate, that you wield, and it's coupled and channeled through self-belief. And whatever it is that you do to generate that extreme power, yes, it could be training, but it could be fueled by so many other things. With Mike Tyson, it was fueled by all the people that doubted him, all the bullying, and he found a home, he found somewhere where, he could build and be loved, and he was loved by his coach. He was brought into his coach's house. So love is ultimately the most powerful fuel that we can absorb and we can create ourselves. And as I talk about it in a lot of my videos, the source of love can be, or in a lot of cases, is attention. So not only does this attention need to come from, when it comes from other people, then you are dependent, you are a slave to those people. Let's say if you're drawing your love and your attention from social media, from friends on Facebook or whatever, every time you post you get 100 likes or whatever. So you're depending on them, you're depending on an external source which is out of your control, really. And you will be a slave to that. You will be constantly trying to please and trying to impress, show off, and you'll always be in fear of that leaving. Whereas if people cultivate that and provide themselves that attention, it's a much more powerful, long-lasting, stable. It's like building your home on a foundation of rock, rather than building your home on a foundation of sand and gravel. So knowing this, knowing that, okay, love is what fills me, love is what gives me this power, and I can cultivate this love, I can cultivate this, and it's channeled through attention, and I can put my own attention on myself. Well, what does that mean, putting your attention on yourself? It means putting your attention on the things that you are building, you are creating, you are doing. It could be going to the gym, it could be developing your body, your health, it could be art, music, it can be building a business, it could be gardening, it could be anything that comes from within you and not from other people. Now, it doesn't mean that we should cut out all our sources of love from other people. No, of course not. It's great to share. As a musician, as an artist, I love to create music, I love to create art, and then I like to share it and receive that feedback. There's nothing wrong with that. It's just we want to keep that in check, keep it in balance, keep it in harmony, and keep it in moderation, because we don't want to ever put all our eggs in one basket. And when you are experiencing a brutal, difficult breakup, it's more than likely that you have put most of your eggs, if not all your eggs, in the care of the person that you have fallen in love with. So in other words, what that means is you've put all your attention on this person, just like Gollum has put all his attention on the ring. So what to do if you're going through this brutal, difficult, trying to get over your first love? Now, you can watch all my other videos, you can watch a lot of other great videos on YouTube that talk about this, and the best videos are gonna say, no contact, focus on yourself, limit how much contact you have to your ex, like, first of all, of course, by communicating directly with them, then communicating indirectly with them, which, I see this with a lot of my clients, is, just communicating via changing their profile pictures on WhatsApp and putting messages on there that they're sending indirect messages to their exes because they know their exes can see their WhatsApp picture or their Facebook profile picture or whatever. So there's indirect ways that we can communicate as well. And then you have the direct ways of communication that it's better that you wind those down so that you can focus on yourself, so that you can face that emptiness, that new baseline, so that you can really face it and absorb it. And hey, you don't have to go like complete cold turkey. Most of my most successful sessions, because when I first started coaching about four years ago, the way that I went through and experienced how to get through my first love breakup and all of these, I went pretty hardcore and I went cold turkey. And of course that's going to help you get through it faster. But over time, when I started doing sessions with people from all around the world, I started to see that it's not a very realistic way to do it for a lot of people. I do mixed martial arts. I have been doing Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu for 10 years. I have my Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu brown belt right over here, and having done those things has helped me to become a lot more able to withstand uncomfortable, difficult things. But for average people, for most of us, it can be too much. So I would say that you can phase it out. So if you're communicating with them, let's say 20 times a day, go to once a day. If you're communicating with them, let's say once a day, go to once a week. And then as every week goes by, reduce that and reduce it until you can get to the absolute no contact. Now let's go back to this. So you've got direct contact with your ex, then you've got indirect contact, which I explained, and then after that you have this weird, magical connection that I believe exists, that even when you can think of a person, I believe one day science is going to prove that we can connect with each other just by focusing our attention. That's what I believe prayers are. When we pray for someone, we're connecting with them. And also when you do the opposite of praying for someone, when you wish someone ill, we're also sending them something. It's why people sometimes text you or call you when you're thinking of them. This happens so much. It's very, very frequent. And a lot of people out there have sent me emails or put comments on my videos confirming that they have experienced this as well. So there's a lot more going on in this world than just what we can touch, see, hear, and feel. Those are just our basic senses, right? There are some tools that come with this biological organism that we call our body. But our bodies exist in a realm that quantum physics, that physics itself still has so many unanswered questions. They say that everything, even something solid, the molecular structure, the atoms are not stuck together, they are vibrating, they are moving, right? So if we take the world's most powerful microscope and look at ourselves, look at all the material that we call solid, we can already see that things aren't actually solid, that things are built up by electrons and protons, and it's energy, right? And beyond that energy, there's space, right? And space is a fascinating thing. So there is space, and whether it's through science or spirituality, both those, let's call them roots of a tree, of the human species, are exploring in different ways, but they're both Um, they're both at the same, a similar level of progress. They're learning things at a similar rate, but in different ways. Spirituality will call that space, that spatial awareness, that self-awareness, which anyone can experience if you meditate enough and you can identify your presence in this existence as that awareness, rather than identifying yourself as this body, or even, more difficult. When I say difficult, because you're going to be trapped more, is if you identify yourself as your thoughts, right? So a lot of us are in our minds and we are like, this is the story of me, and I have to build this story of me. And as a lot of spiritual teachers, like I disagree with, will sort of like advocate dissolving that. They call it the ego, right? Dissolving your ego, you know, distancing yourself from your ego, whatever you want to call it. I think that a lot of spiritual teachers sadly vilify your ego. I don't believe you should. Your ego is, or that person, that story of who you are. I'm a jiu-jitsu person, I do MMA, I'm a musician, I'm a counselor, I run a music record label. This is the story of me, and I want to build this story, this personality, as if it's a character, and I want this character to be awesome. I want this character to be loved. I want this character to be something that I would love and be proud of. There's nothing wrong with that, because that character and that personality has a lot, is a tool. It's like a user interface with the world that we live in. Look, if our world was so evolved to the point where everyone understood all of these things, then we can perhaps let go of our egos more, and we can all in unison band together and embrace our awareness, right? And there are communities like that. Why do you think that Tibet is located where it is, so high up in the mountains, away from everyone, difficult to reach? Because these places, they're trying to cultivate a spiritual community, and they want to be safe and away from people that are still, let's say, white belts in spiritual evolution and growth. So identifying yourself, as a balance, I think, is important. Now let's go back, and for any of you who are new to this channel, you've already probably realized that I talk about a lot of things, not just breakups, and I do get sidetracked and this channel kind of goes where it goes. But for all of you who are experiencing brutal, difficult emptiness and loneliness, number one, I would say it's not going to last. It will not last as long as you just give it time, do the right things. Don't keep exposing yourself to that ring, that precious. It's our bodies will learn and evolve and adapt as long as you put your body in a different place, right? So we've got this massive cocktail of emotions and chemicals that flow through us. If you feel, if you're a guy or a girl, and you ever felt horny or started like fantasizing about sexual thoughts, let's say you're about to meet your girlfriend, or about to have the date, or about to, I don't know, have a threesome or anything crazy, exciting, sexual, intimate, you'll know how that feels. You'll have this heightened senses, this heightened sensation and feelings as your body starts to flood with a blend of chemicals and hormones, whatever it is, oxytocin, endorphins, there's so many different ones. There's so many chemicals that go through our bodies. And as I said, it's never the same feeling twice. Never, because there's always going to be a little bit more, maybe, uh, of one chemical, and it's never exactly the same. So every breakup, every relationship, every experience is completely unique. Every moment that we experience on this earth is completely unique. You'll never be the same person twice. You are always going to be changing. But if you continue to do the same things over and over again, it's likely that you're going to be a very similar person, experiencing very similar feelings. So if you're depressed for a long time, if you're constantly dealing with anxiety, change something, change anything. I do this so often, it's become like a life practice for me, that if something is going wrong in my life, then I will pay very close attention to what have I done differently recently. Have I introduced someone new into my life? Have I added someone new on my Instagram? Is it perhaps food that I'm eating, some music that I'm listening to? Is it the way that I'm sitting, the way I'm sleeping, the shoes that I'm wearing? It's so deep. There's so many factors involved. Taking care of your life, living is a full-time job in itself. So why when people are working their 9 to 5s and they're so busy and consumed with their work, it does take care of a lot of things. Like, it gives them a sense of security, a sense of purpose, a sense of structure. But they wind up also neglecting, because, as I just explained, taking care of ourselves requires so much time and attention. So they wind up neglecting a lot as well. Mostly it's your health, relationships, mental health, physical health. And those things are critical, not just to you, but to our community. If you're sick mentally, physically in pain, mentally in pain, emotionally in pain, physically in pain, then you're likely going to spread that, whether you want to or not. Whether you're a good person or a bad person or whatever, even if your intentions, if you desire to be good and you don't want to hurt people, it's just the resonance, the vibration that you are emitting that is going to hurt others, take from others, and spread this vibration of suffering. And look at the world we live in today. There's a lot of us who are vibrating, emitting this resonance of pain and suffering. So it spreads, it gets absorbed, but then there are others out there who are fighting, the light bearers. There's a great movie called The Road, and I love that. In The Road, the mom teaches her son that some people are carrying the light, And to carry the light, to be a light bearer, it takes a lot of work. People will encounter, as Brene Brown in her book, she calls them wholehearted people. I like calling them light bearers. The bearers of the light. We work hard at it. They work hard at it. It's not easy. And when people encounter them, sometimes they'll be like, oh yeah, your life is going so well. That's why you're so happy. That's why you're so positive. Everything must be hunky-dory in your life. Absolutely far from the truth. Actually, most people who truly have been through hell and truly have experienced the worst pain tend to be the kindest, most compassionate, most wisest, evolved, spiritually evolved people on earth. because they've experienced a lot of pain. Now, unfortunately, not everybody who experiences pain winds up like that. Some people, when they lack the correct teaching and guidance when they're going through pain, can turn to further sources of masking, hiding, burying their pain, whether it's going out partying, having more and more sex and hooking up with people, going into rebound relationships, going to alcohol, turning to drugs, whatever it is. I'm not saying those things are bad, okay? I'm just saying that, I'm not saying we shouldn't do those things. And I'm not judging anybody who has gone through that and has done that. Life is hard, and we're not perfect, and we have to forgive ourselves. But it's important to understand that there are things on this earth that help us, and there are things on this earth that make our life more difficult. And unfortunately, I don't know what it is. I don't know if it's a test, if this is all a simulation and we're being tested, but the things that tend to make our lives better tend to be more difficult in the short term, and in the long term we feel better. And the opposite is true, that the things that make us feel so good and euphoric and high and up in the short term tend to make us feel really bad in the long term. So I don't think it's really a big discussion or argument that what we want more. We want to feel amazing in the long term, right? Like, I'll give you a couple of very quick examples before wrapping this video up. Like I do uphill sprints. I hate doing that. I hate it. It's so difficult. It's like a mental battle, running up this hill, sprinting up the hill. The mental battle doesn't just start when I'm running up the hill. It starts before, when I'm thinking about, okay, I need to go do my sprint. I start to think, do I want to do this? I'm kind of tired. I've had a long day already. I haven't eaten anything. I'm pretty drained. But what I have learned, what helps me to do it, is I will remember the feeling that I'll have afterwards. And that feeling is so worth it. Because when I get to the top of the hill, the feeling is amazing. I feel so powerful, confident. I feel more confident. I feel stronger. And as again Brene Brown talks about in her book, it's all about worthiness, feeling worthy, and not being ashamed of who you are, feeling the opposite of shame for yourself, feeling proud of yourself. And when you feel worthy and when you feel proud of yourself, that's when we feel confident. That's when we go out in the world and we have more confidence in ourselves, because we know that we've done difficult things, that we're capable of doing difficult things. Not just capable of doing difficult things, but we're capable of doing good things for ourselves. We are capable of self-love, because running up that hill is self-love. And when I sprint up the hill, it's a short-term pain, but long-term feeling of goodness and wholeheartedness. And it's not just running up the hill, it's anything. If I jump in an ice bath, which I've been doing recently, same thing. I hate it, but as soon as I'm done with it, I cannot describe to you how amazing it feels. The warmth and the heat on my skin, I feel alive more than ever before. It's this similar feeling when I eat like vegetables, like when I just eat some lettuce, or the list of those things is long and endless, and I suggest you write them down. If you're going through a difficult breakup, this is what I did, and this is what I recommend to the people that I coach and counsel. I tell them, I say, write a list of all those things that make you feel good. They might suck at the beginning, but what are those things? For me, there are things like cleaning my house, taking a shower, occasionally my skin gets dry, so I'll just like self-love myself, and I'll put jojoba oil and all over my body, you know. And then be mindful of the things that make you feel like crap. It could be jerking off. You know, a lot of people are doing no fap. It might not be jerking off. You might be okay with that. It might be going on Facebook, might make you feel like shit. It might be looking at Instagram stories. It might be that you have to unfollow some people and take some real difficult steps and totally do some spring cleaning to your social media. Get rid of people and focus, or start new accounts. I did that. I quit my social media 2.5 years ago. I'll do a video on that. And I started an Instagram, and I am very picky on who I add on there. So, you know, be mindful of those short-term things that make us feel good, and then long-term we feel like crap. I'm not saying cut them all out, because yes, I know it's hard. It's maybe impossible. It is actually impossible to do that at the beginning, but it's possible to phase it out. So rather than having like a whole, let's say, bottle of soda, or a big, you know, cup of, you know, large size soda with your fast food, get a small one, you know, or drink half of it, or maybe don't get the French fries, or whatever it is, and then phase things out for yourself that way. Rather than eating all the fries, leave like 4 behind. You know, rather than drinking all of your Coke or Dr. Pepper or whatever, you know, drink half of it, or have a few sips, and then throw the rest of it away, and feel proud when you throw it away, of that strength. Right? So I like to start my day with bananas. They have potassium, and potassium are full of electrolytes. And in this bowl I have berries. And I don't know what's going on, but there's been like crazy good deals on berries the last couple of years here where I live. Like I'm getting a pack of berries for like $2, which is very worth it. You know? Now, when I lived in Thailand, I would say $2 for berries. That's a ridiculous ripoff. But anyway. So to any of you out there going through this emptiness, this pain, this brutal withdrawal of the breakup, I really feel with you, and I'm sure a lot of other viewers on this channel, we all feel with you. You're not alone. You're going to be okay. It takes time. The first cut is the deepest. The first week is the hardest. The first month is hard, but not as difficult as the first week. It gets better. It gets easier. I shouldn't say better. I shouldn't even say it gets easier, but it changes. It goes from a sharp pain to more of a dull wound, and then in their second month it becomes kind of like a emptiness, and then the third month it's like emptiness and loneliness and a dull healing pain, and then it gets better and better. And the important thing is to remember how it felt that first week, remember how it felt the first month, and then you'll be able to see that there is a trajectory. And you may begin your breakup process doing a lot of good things. You know, there's long lists, right? Could be cleaning, showers, sprints, cold showers, training, going to the gym. Those are good things, but reducing the bad things, reducing the toxic people, the alcohol, the smoking, the sitting, whatever it is, the sugar, doing the no contact, your exposure to the toxic things that are hurting you, reducing those things. Whatever it is that you do, those things could see you through the first 2-3 months, but then you might feel that, hey, from month 3 to month 7 I feel very much the same. Well, that's an indication that you should be upping everything. You should be going to another level, just like with jiu-jitsu and martial arts. In order to go up another belt, you know, and I'm on brown belt, and in order to go to the next level black belt, there are going to be things that I'm going to have to up that are going to be hard for me. I'm going to have to study more. I'm going to have to learn more. Maybe things that I don't like as much. I might have to be teaching more. On the topic of that, I'm going to end this video with this, that a secret weapon to mastering anything, whether it's also getting through a breakup, is to teach, to share. So I found tremendous help by posting videos, sharing what I had learned, which is basically a form of teaching. And now I'm counseling, which is teaching, right? When I started teaching jiu-jitsu and MMA, my jiu-jitsu and MMA game went up like so much. It went up like tenfold at least. So the power of teaching is unbelievable because it holds you accountable. When I start doing videos like this, sharing about the good things to do and what not to do, and then I go away and I do the opposite, I'm going to feel shameful. I'm going to feel terrible about myself. I'm not going to feel so good. So when I teach, when I share, it holds me accountable. So I would also suggest go out there and teach and share. You might think, well, who am I? I don't have any expertise. I don't have any degrees or certificates or diplomas. Like, who am I? Who's going to listen to me? And as I have said it in my videos before, we all have something to share and to teach others. No matter where you are, whether you're a white belt or a black belt, we all have something to teach. And whether you're a black belt or a white belt in anything in life, we all have something to learn. Black belts can learn from white belts. So we all have something to learn. We all have something to teach. So don't doubt yourself. Go out there, teach what you can, share what you can, and there are always going to be people struggling more than you, and you can help those people. I found people online through online forums and communities, and I started helping them, and that's how this channel eventually came about. So feel proud, you're not alone. If anything, in my emptiest, loneliest moments, I was hiking and I looked down on this earth and I had this sudden realization that, holy guacamole, there's this huge thing underneath me that's giving me air, that's giving me food, that's keeping me alive, and that is Mother Earth, my greatest mother of all. The mother of my mother, the mother of all mothers, the mother of all of us. Our greatest mother of all is our planet that's alive and we're living on it, and it might not have a face and a mouth and it can't speak, but it is communicating with us in its own way. And it's a powerful thing right beneath our feet, and if we just be aware of it even just for a moment, we can absorb power from it, and it's a very good feeling. So I pray for all of you out there, and thank you to those of you who have been subscribing to my Patreon page. Our numbers are growing, and all the money that I'm raising on there is going to go towards getting a camera, getting a microphone, and it's going to go into this channel. So thank you to my Patreon subscribers. You guys are incredible. I'm so grateful for you, for your support, and to everybody out there who's watching this, please share, like, subscribe, all of that good stuff, and I love reading your comments below. They inspire and motivate me. So thank you, and adios for now.